they're changing my voice. So I was fumed heavily leading up to this, and I'm still being fumed. That's the Freemasons' way of saying that I'm right. That's their allies' way of saying that I'm right. And I thank God that I'm not a Freemason. In the Bible it says you know them by their works, and that wisdom is proven right by her deeds. The Freemasons have never produced somebody who did something that was profoundly respectable ever. And they've always insisted on being in charge to some degree, at least since the beginning of American history. And the Klan, from my research, is basically a group historically that was there to enforce the Masonic spirit. So this video is about various symbols of Freemasonry. I might pronounce one of them wrong because I read annotations, but we're going to talk about the square and compass, the ashlar, the gavel, the all-seeing eye, the level, the plume, the mosaic, aka the checkered floor, the 47th problem of Euclid, aka the Pythagorean theorem, the hourglass, the Ark of the Covenant, the trowel, and the lambskin apron. Okay, so we're going to discuss what they say it means, and I'm going to correct them. So the square and compass. Operative Masons use the square to ensure the stone they shaped, was being shaped correctly and angled correctly. This emphasized, when used as a symbol, it emphasizes a certain meaning. The importance of precision and wise decision-making is what they say. It is supposed to remind them to act with virtue, integrity, and fairness. And keep in mind the word conduct starts with the word con, right? To conduct themselves, so to speak, going back to Masonic wordplay. Masonic wordplay is key in the code in Freemasonry. When paired, and again, the word paired is a play on words for rape ID and app I read. Okay, so what are they pairing with what? People, ideas, what have you. So when paired with the compass, the symbol becomes more meaningful. Together they represent a blending of the material and the spiritual. The square symbolizes the earthly, while the compass points toward the heavens. They claim the G represents geometry or God. So the G actually represents the devil, and I'll tell you why. G is the earth deity, a pagan earth deity in Rome. And the Masons are very, very much modeled after Roman thinking, right? Greco-Roman thinking, especially Roman thinking. This is why they resort to acting like children instead of being men. Okay, for example, the fuming, the hazing. Masons are notorious for giggling in their pictures. In fact, I'll put one on the screen as the first part of this. Look at how they're behaving. Like giggling, sissy, nerdy old men. No offense to the people in the picture. No offense to anybody. I'm just going to tell the facts, the harsh and straightforward facts. You think somebody who's doing something very serious in a society that needs help desperately would act like the situation isn't serious? Would giggle like a sissy while people are dying in the streets? While in California alone in the last year or so, like 3,000 people died in the streets, homeless, and many, many more died of drug overdoses and other things? No. And if they're going to try to defend themselves, they would say one of two things. One, so what, they were laughing or something. That's not sufficient. There's too many pictures like that. It's obviously something they're doing that's mischievous. Everyone knows nerds. Everyone knows why you would take a picture like that and post it. Not good enough. The other one is that they're a secret society. They've built all kinds of secret society lodges everywhere. A lot of presidents have been Freemasons. In a free and open society, is it enough to say, hey, what obviously is a menacing action, what obviously is toxic mischief, is okay because they're a secret society and it's none of your business? That is not good enough. And that's part of the works of Freemasonry, part of what they presented to you. Being a member of a secret society isn't enough, of an excuse to hoard money, to manipulate things behind the scenes, historically, to live in this horrible society where obviously psyops and manipulation behind the scenes have forged this horrible society, and to say, hey, that's none of your business. That is a pathetic, childish move, and it's consistent with the wordplay. Remember, wisdom is proven right by her deeds, and as the saying goes, there's always a Bible open in a Masonic lodge. Okay. And of course, they claim that their grand architect is the grand architect of the individual group. Okay, I've seen another video where the guy was saying that. And if you're a Muslim, it's Allah. If you're a Jewish person, it's El Shaddai or Yah or whatever they're saying these days. And if you're a Christian, it's, you might say God. Okay. And how it obviously works is, we see it in Pike's book, that they kind of follow who they consider the wisest and the best, the expert, right? And they like to say things like, you don't know what you're talking about. Okay, which means that the grand architect of the governing class, which is the devil, is guiding them. That's simple. 1 + 1 does equal 2. It's called sacred math. Do it. Okay, and not in a Masonic way, but in a straightforward way, an honest way. So the ashlar, or the ashlar stone, okay, is key in stone masonry. In medieval Europe, it was used both unrefined and polished. So what they're saying is that the unrefined stone is the primitive stone of the mason. Okay, that has some value, but they need to refine it with their system, is what they're saying. Okay, and they're trying to go from an unrefined state to one of moral and intellectual enlightenment. Now again, the word moral with the Masonic wordplay is a plain word for Mor-El. And a lot of them look like the Canaanite deity El, which a lot of Jews worship. And the first 3 rituals of Masonry are said to be after, they're said to be based on Old Testament ideas, right? Exodus and so on and so forth. I don't know off the top of my head, but that's what they're saying it's from. And it's not a coincidence that at one point, God is referred to in the Old Testament as El Shaddai, which is one of the epithets of the Canaanite deity El, who over time became very much associated with homosexuality, thus the sissy-like dress of the Freemason. Again, I'm just going to say it bluntly, no offense to anybody. Okay. So the rough ashlar stone, in its natural form, symbolizes the initial state of a Mason. It embodies raw potential and the coarse characteristics that require refinement through, what they say is through education and discipline and diligent effort. Now, ask yourself, what is the education system, right? It's a white supremacist system. What is the Mason system? It's a white supremacist system. That's why Francis Galton, who coined the term eugenics, was a Mason. Nathan Bedford Forrest was initiated into Freemasonry. William Joseph Simmons from the Second Clan was almost certainly a Mason, and these other social clubs had overlapping membership with Masonry. The other social clubs he's in, almost certainly, there's no way around that. So therefore, the Masons had their hand in the white racist history of America. A lot of them were Protestants, and the Klan was a Protestant organization. And a lot of Catholics, though they at some point gave a decree where they said Catholics can't be Freemasons or something. A lot of Catholics have been Freemasons, and I'm sure they still are. Pretty straightforward. Okay. Either way, all these churches are wrong, and everyone should understand that by now. It's impossible to miss these days. Okay. So through education is laughable. Again, the word school, spelled backwards, with a C instead of a K, is a play on words for looks, right? Or the H is silent, whatever. You get what I'm saying. You also get the word hoe in school, and a lot of these females go on from school to being secretaries, to being corporate sluts, sleeping with their boss. Like 20% of females in the corporate world slept with their bosses or something like that. Okay, last time I checked the statistics, it is designed on purpose to hoe females and to get people to focus on looks and who they know and who they blow instead of what they know, instead of being morally qualified, what have you. They talk about the moral compass, the Mor-El come, right? Like semen, come pass. And mock pass and make pass. It is a very sick thing they are doing. And again, the average Mason Maybe they don't know about the average Mason and Blue Lodge, but it's laughable to think that they don't, especially with the gang stalking these days. Okay? But certainly the overall design, the machine of Masonry connects to the governing class, and their overall output is failed individuals and building this evil rape cult system, rape by deception system. I'll debate any Mason on it at any time. Okay? When they hear this, they know that I'm right for more than one reason. Because they know there's Masonic wordplay unless they're complete idiot. Okay? They know that Masons, often give each other a coin. It's like a dime with a Masonic symbol on it. They know that the Masons had something to do with the pyramid on the dollar bill. They know that there are a lot of presidents have been Masons. They know that the output of their work, the sum total output, is evil, is corrupt politics, it's a racist history in the West, what have you. It's impossible to miss that. So they're acting like bullies and saying, we know people, okay? We manipulate behind the scenes. It's a bad idea to mess with us. They're acting like monsters as a response. And that's been my experience with them. Okay. So again, it symbolizes the starting point with imperfection that the Mason must work to polish. The perfect ashlar symbol signifies the Mason who has made considerable progress on his personal journey is what they're saying. Okay, again, look, this is all fucking bullshit. They might take me out of context. I'm going to have to just say it and not worry about that. There's some guy, making noise with the leaf blower, so I'm going to have to cut it short here. Let me just wrap up this thing. So the ashlar basically is symbolizing, it's supposed to symbolize achievement in its polished form and a high standard of moral integrity and so on and so forth. But we simply don't see that. That's not what they're building. They're the Pharisees, right? It's modeled after Jewish Pharisee thinking, Jewish Baal worship thinking. That's why the rituals after the Old Testament, the masses of Jews in the Old Testament, right? They worship Baal, and they're the ones who survived. Bible by Baal. And the Masons are the people who generally, they don't die for what they believe for the most part. They believe in establishing themselves and assimilating and following the governing class. And a lot of them are rich governing class people. Okay? They don't believe in standing firm and carrying their cross. They consider that fanaticism by their actions. Now, some individuals might disagree, but the sum total communication of the group is clear. It's like the sum total communication of America or any nation. It's corruption. The Masons are no exception. And when you're an organization that believes in fellowship and brotherhood and working together, and the sum total of your action is evil, then it's an evil organization. And you know them by their works. They are the children of the devil. And they refuse to rally to me and give me my right to lead. Open and shut. Okay, so they say they strive to achieve, moral excellence, what have you, through continual self-improvement and adherence to Masonry's core values. Again, this is something that Masons themselves have come up with. This guy didn't just come up with this out of thin air. He read their books. They've explained it this way. Okay? And Masons didn't scramble to say, that's wrong. So when that happens, you know that they've committed to an argument for the most part at least. They've committed to the argument that these things stand for this to some degree. And that this is what they're telling you. For example, if you sign a contract with somebody, can they say, well, I'm a Mason, so that contract's void? No. If you hire someone to fix your car and they do a bad job, you say, well, I'm a Mason and you just don't understand. No. See, what you communicate to the public, what you do is very significant. And it disgusts me that so many people say, we don't know what you're talking about. Well, we're smarter than you are. How the fuck are you smarter than I am? I'm the top martial artist and a brain surgeon's son, his namesake. The person he says is the smartest person he's ever met. How the fuck is some mischievous old fool who follows the governing class smarter than the top? It's not possible. How the fuck do you not owe me an explanation? And the explanations you give me verify that I'm right. How's that for who's smarter than who? My goodness, can you imagine? Them saying to the smartest person ever possible, natural intelligence, mind you, not AI bullshit and stupidity, wisdom as the highest form of intelligence, adherence to God's law, not Masonic law, as the highest form of intelligence, right? How masterfully you adhere to it. focus, moral intensity. Now again, some of these guys are more diplomatic and friendly than others, but it's wrong to be a Freemason, and it's wrong to play stupid about it. Masonry has been a huge part of the world's experience. America is considered the most powerful nation in the world, the most wealthy nation in the world. California by itself is the fourth biggest economy in the world. So what Masons do very much affects the entire world. What gives them the right to do it behind your back? They don't have the right. And what they're doing is they're playing a game, okay, with the elite where they pretend to help people out. They've given the elite their allegiance, and they throw people a bone in their race or in their family or in their network while the masses of the people are tortured by the elite. Look at economic disparity. Look at neocolonialism. Look at organized rape by deception, organized sexual sadism. Look at the rates of homelessness and child molestation and 9 million people starving to death a year. Their allegiance is to operating within the boundaries of not getting their group, eliminated, which means that they are serving the elite. You think Jesus would operate in the story, for example, within the boundaries of not being killed by the elite? Or would he operate within God's law and be willing to die carrying his cross? Also, if they were moving so masterfully against the elite wouldn't allow them to have lodges all over the planet. It's open and shut. If they're to argue they are the elite, well, then they've pleaded guilty to the maximum degree. What other way could be? What other way could it be? So even if you're going to argue that I'm wrong about minor details here, I'm right about the core arguments, and that's what this video is about. Not whether it's pronounced Asher or Ashar or Ashler or Ashlar or something else, right? An Asler, mind you. The wordplay there. But whether I'm right about the core argument that Masonry is evil, they're in rebellion against God, they're an evil secret society, they're hypocrites, they tell you one thing and there's a secret code, they know I'm right about that. Why have a secret society if there's no secret code? Why is it called Masonic wordplay in a secret society if there's no secret code? There is. And is the secret on behalf of the people against the elite? No. When America was formed after the Age of Enlightenment, it wasted no time becoming a corrupt, slave-owning country where John Jay, the president of the Constitutional Convention, said that he wanted the rich landowners to govern the country. So I have a quote here. Let me get this real fast here. John Jay, the president of the Constitutional Convention, said those who own the country ought to govern it. And there was a bunch of rich landowners there. And that's how things played out. The rich became the politicians. It became the presidents. That's how it played out. Them and their mentors. George Washington was a Freemason. And to this day, they have enough money to build lodges. They have enough money. A lot of these guys are millionaires. What have you. One of their rules, when we look at the level, when we get to that, is that they supposedly don't hold against people their position in society, because some of them are very rich, some are very poor, according to their explanation of the level. It's even called the level. And it subtly refers to the level you have in society in the satanic order of the global social structure of the planet. This Masonic structure, if you will, the man-made structure, the satanic and Luciferian structure of the planet. So are the Masons Luciferians? Yes, because they're lying to you. They're being evil as their sum total action. They might give, a homeless kid, a few dollars or something, but their sum total action is evil. They might build a children's hospital. So what? Hitler built children's hospitals. That doesn't mean anything. The mafia gives money to the poor. Drug cartels have been known to give money to the poor. That means nothing. How many of you would argue that the mafia, the drug cartels, and Hitler are magically good because they did charity at times? I mean, live in reality. Wake up and smell the coffee. They are Luciferians. And as such, they have betrayed the planet. And first and foremost, they betrayed God, and they certainly betrayed me, Christ, as I've commanded everyone, Mason and otherwise, to rally to me. Not a single person, Mason or otherwise. So is God their architect? No. Is their loyalty to Christ? No. Their loyalty is to the devil. And what they think, what the Bible warns them about, mind you, what they think they should do, and not what Christ commands them to do in the true Spirit of God. Open and shut. Okay. See, is there anything else I want to say about the Ashlar here? It also is said to represent the day that a Mason's actions and thoughts are in complete alignment with the ideas of Freemasonry. And on the show, is the word Freemasonry in the Bible? No. So why are they trying to be aligned with Freemasonry and not with God Almighty? Freemasons say you can't do this. Think about the Brotherhood. You can't do that. There's rules there. Rules that I, Christ, did not put out there. Rules that they're putting before the commands of God. They have a fine way of setting aside the commands of God like the Pharisees and following their own mere rules, customs, and traditions. Because God said, obey Christ. And Christ said, obey Christ. But you're not obeying me for the sake of your mere rules, customs, and traditions, but what you put before that is saving your own ass, which is pathetic.